I could see how I could definitely see how you know, putting it below the goal line and getting the D's to turn their back. I could definitely see how that would be an advantage.
Guys,
So yeah,
Yeah,
I have a question for both of you, and I've turned record on because I need to, I'd like everybody to hear your opinion on this question. What's the most important thing at your level, uh, your levels, high school, female hockey, U15 female hockey, Tom, on the power play? What's your most important thing on a power play? Tom?
well, the most important thing is to win the loose puck battle first.
Okay.
I think, and I'm trying to get them to two touch. We're trying to practice two touch, so they get it, they take it, then they make a pass to move quickly and keep moving.
Okay. But the most important thing is possession, right?
Yep. You can't score if you don't have it.
Dom, what do you think at your level?
yeah, I would agree. I think yeah, I would agree that obviously you need to have it before you can do anything with it. I think is and this is more it ends up manifesting itself more so on the power play because I feel like they have a little more time and space with it is being able but to be able to make the read and what is there as opposed to what they feel like is what they planned. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times they'll have an idea what they want to try to do, and that's you do need some sort of idea, but I think making those reads for themselves as to whether it's stick position of the defender or whether it's whatever it is being able to make the read that's there is that to me is the biggest challenge because I think a lot of times they get it in their head. Okay, we're going to do this and then we're going to do this, and I'm like, well, how do you know? Well, how do you know you're going to do this if you don't know what the like? I can't tell you what the defenders are going to do. They might not know what they're going to do. They're going to be able to react. So it's just keeping that element of being able to be open to the fact that you're going to have to make a read on a little bit of a read as to what's going on. That to me is the biggest challenge because I think it's very, like I watched a female game on the weekend and it was 0-0, and there's lots of power plays on either side, and it was like they were all doing exactly what they were told to do, but nobody was making a play that was available, right? And I'm sure you both. I'm just preaching to the choir here in that regard, but yeah, that's a bit of my challenge.
Okay, I want to make my point, and I've tried to make it with Tom earlier. I mentioned I watched U13 practice power play yesterday. Well, they can't, really pass a puck, let alone pass it deceptively, touch pass. They can't shoot from the point yet, and so all I said, and I'm saying this to you, when you're talking about the power play at your level, it's nice to have a structure, but the most important thing is keeping the puck in their zone, and that idea of possession, it's outnumbering them and making sure the D can pinch to the goal line. That's written into the national curriculum that I wrote years ago. I felt if we didn't have it, didn't matter what we did when you set up, but I believe had I known more about the setups, the national team would have been a lot better on the power play. But Bob Murdoch used that philosophy with his first year in Winnipeg. Every line played the power play, and the third and fourth lines, they were the possession lines, the battle lines, the scrum lines. You have 5, they have 4. You should be able to create 2-on-1s, outnumber them, as opposed to set up for that, 3-1 and deceptive quick puck movement and one-time shooting and touch passing. So thank you guys for that. Is there anything else you would add at your level, U15, Tom, for coaches to work on the power play? You've got the picture and the structure in. You're going into tournaments. Both of you are going to tournaments this weekend. You're going to see if those structures pay off. the season's long. What are you thinking? Where are you going in terms of what you work on now and move
Well,
forward
what
on
I
the power
what
play?
I see, Wally, what I see is that if there's no play, the D will stand at the blue line almost still, and they're trapped there. So just put the puck deep, get it again, and restart. That's don't force things to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I was trying to get them to do last night, because they get up there and they're trying to make D to D passes when the D's covered and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just get it low, and someone should slide behind and restart.
So so you're starting most of your plays from below the goal line. Then sounds like, eh?
Yeah, well, we use the slot set. I like that because it's very similar to 5-on-5.
Yeah.
It's kind of like teaching 5-on-5 offense when you're working on the slot set. And yeah.
Would you explain that, Tom? The slot set that.
Well, there's 2-point man, a player at the half wall, player at the goal line, and one player in the middle. In the hash, where the overload, that player's way over there, but the girls don't have a one-timer anyway. Most of them, some do. And so it's basically, it fits right into 5-on-5 play.
No, that's excellent. I've always called that the overload setup.
Yeah, well, I call the overload when the other player is over on the other dot almost.
Okay.
The slot set, that player's in the middle.
Yeah.
They're pretty similar to each other.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So I'd recommending the 1-3-1 at U15. I don't know, and you're not doing it at U18, Dom. So how do you try to, like, when you enter the zone, the biggest thing of all is, can you score on direct attack first, and then can you gain possession and set up? So how do you teach that? Entry, setup, is it all start with the half wall?
No, I think Gullickson talked about that, and he said he doesn't want his players going in and going to the hash mark. He wants them to play like 5-on-5 until you get that first scoring chance, then win the puck, then run your power play.
So he doesn't have a set power play.
Oh yeah, he does. But they don't go in. You don't cross the blue line and rush over to the hash to start your power play.
No,
You try to score. You try to score first, then you run your power play.
right. Direct attack and then set up and run your power play. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I try to have, I mean, this is very cliche, but I try to have power play, like and everybody says it's a 5-on-5 mentality. And again, like if you're able to, and again, like I try to build the entries like 5-on-5, right? You just, you've got, mid lane support, and I try not to make it too much different than what I would 5-on-5 and what we're trying to accomplish 5-on-5. At the end, I want to have 3 players off the rush, and to be able to try to, as Tom said, to try to score off the rush. Obviously you try to, you bring up the 4th player to be able to have a little bit of that structure. So I think that is first and foremost, and then, if it doesn't happen, as I say, right off the rush per se, and now you're looking to get possession and you're just looking to create 2-on-1s. I try to, I got to be honest, on the girls' side, and part of it is because we just haven't had the numbers to practice, but I try to keep that consistent, with my messaging, like just try to, outnumber them and take advantage of the situation that you have. If you're able to create a 2-on-1, and then try to expose it. Now, the difference on the PK is that a lot of teams, they're very, very stagnant they'll sit back and just keep it to the outside. So then it's like, now what do we do? So that's why I can understand Tom saying, if you, all of a sudden now you put them behind the net, you put it in an uncomfortable position where they haven't seen, and now it gets them turned around and they have to make reads and plays, and that's probably why you're having success. So I would think, in my opinion, you're having success is because they're exposed to having to have their back turned, something a little bit unconventional, as having that behind the net.
I just want to mention, I watched power play in the U15 tournament, Tom, and I thought the biggest problem was you couldn't get out of your own zone because they just press. It's early in the year and everybody's going to pressure. How do you break out, and at what point do you teach a static setup behind the net breakout? Do you bother, or is it just break out with 5 and get the puck in the zone?
But we haven't bothered. We haven't bothered yet. What I did going into our last game, I said I want one winger at the red line, one at the far blue line, just to get their D off the blue line.
Yeah.
And then one player pick up the puck in the center swing one corner and the other D swing the other.
Yeah.
But we haven't practiced it, so that's something we haven't practiced yet.
Dom doesn't know, but you've got defense that can carry the puck. That's amazing. He's got
one in each set of D that can really lug the puck.
Yeah, that's a bit of a breakout in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can open the zone up, give them room to skate, and that works for you. But I'm looking at this U13 group, and I'm just saying, both wingers low, short passes, get out of the zone, get down the ice, because they're still learning, and you're learning about what you've got relative to talent. So that's the hardest challenge. The power play is a disadvantage at U13, I believe. And it might be.
In the city final last year, we lost 3-2 and 2 were short-handed goals.
Yeah. Well, the idea is pressure the power play at that age all the time. So how do you PK, Dom? Do you full press?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, we try to, we try to have up ice, if you can get up ice pressure, great. And we try to do one, make sure that our first player is above 2 of theirs. So, if they have a D behind the net and they're swinging with speed, then you have to read that speed and be able to be above. So you won't get beat with one pass, right? Like, you're not going to stand there, look at the D, and someone swings in the corner and they make one pass, and already it's a 4-on-3. So first, it's 1 above 2 and 2 above 3. So the first player has to be above 2, and then the second player has to be, and 2 of our players have to be above 3 of theirs. And then next messaging is to try to pressure so they're not able to get into our zone. Be able to pressure the blue was coming back. Obviously now we're playing against those that can start.
Are they able to set up, Dom? I think he must be in a different cell zone. So, Tom, what's your breakout now? It's just you're clearing the zone because you've got the talent to come out with those 3, eh?
Well, that's what I want to do. We haven't practiced it yet, but I think that'll with the D I have. If that player swings behind the net, picks up the puck.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll stop them right now with everybody in the zone. There's a lot of bodies around, so I just want to make it 3-on-3 there and not,
That really makes sense, Tom. That's absolutely correct, given the tools that you've got and having those wingers leave the zone. And I think that's when I'm talking to U13 coaches, I'm saying breakout normal, wingers support low. I find on the 5-on-5 breakouts, the wingers are still too high, and the defensemen aren't able to deceptively go back and tight turn to the wall and then open up the ice. So there's so many fundamental things that need to be worked on. And your kids have some great skill, Tom. It's one heck
Yeah.
of a team. And I just think that their ability to handle a puck, and you mentioned their skills are off the chart at this age.
Yeah, I was surprised at how good at puck handling they are. And
Yeah.
we're working on getting them to move the puck, which isn't perfect, but it's better than the other teams we play.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Now, do you have players that you would give more liberty to choose to do things than tell to do things?
I don't tell anybody to do anything. Well, except the one girl that I finally got into her brain that she needs to move it to not end up in the far corner all the time. She goes through the other team and then ends up in the far corner.
Yeah.
So she passed last game. It was fantastic. I thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was unbelievable. So, hey, Dom, we lost you. Can you hear us again?
I got you.
Okay. Uh, we're just talking about. Do you have a set breakout on the power play at the U18 level, female hockey?
I don't. I don't. I. I. You know. I. I guess that we'll have. Uh, offset, one go out stretching, and then we'll swing one in either corner. One.
Yeah, we've lost you again. Okay.
Kind of choppy.
Yeah. Well, look, Tom. What time
Being available, but
you're fading in and out, Dom? So when you do that, I'll just get something else going with Tom on the line. But um, I just wanted to get some stuff so we're not going to have a long session today, and I've got 17 minutes now. What I think is really good material for coaches at any level. Dom, if the sound is okay, and you're talking American League power play you were in charge of, what worked for you? What did you feel in all your years of working with pros, being in charge of the power play? What seemed to work for you?
yeah, keep it as close to the 5-on-5 as you could. Like you have structure and simple, just to try to boil it down as simple as you could. And yes, you had certain things that you were trying to do, um, when teams made adjustments, but just keep it in the players' hands in regards to their reads and theirs. And you have an extra player, just beat that first player to make it a 4-on-3, and then basically try to use your 5-on-5 mentality line rush to be able to try to score off the rush. And then in the zone, yeah, there's some different sets, but again, trying to keep it in the players' hands for the reads that they have to make.
Did you go through in all your coaching career, Dom, the idea of setting up and maybe bringing all four players and doing the rugby breakout, double swings? Did you go through every possible scenario? And
Yeah, we did have, you know, we would go into every game with a couple different breakouts. And then obviously there was you do a pre-scout of what you might see on the other side. But I think we always had within the full comprehension, the idea that if they're really going to pressure us up ice, we're looking just to beat that first player, and then it's a 4-on-3, and then we play hockey. Obviously, there's certain concepts that we wanted, the speed at the line. We had 3 with speed at the line, and we wanted the puck to be able to at the worst case scenario get it below the goal line, and then be able to try to switch puck side and do those types of things to get possession. But we had some set breakouts that we had, and again, we had a couple different ones that we would have, but we focused a lot on taking advantage of off the face-offs. Obviously, that's a big thing. You start a lot of time. Obviously, you start every face-off in their end. You want to take full advantage of being able to get that, but it's again putting it in the basic structure and putting it in their hands to be able to execute.
I've just got something at the national women, not quite at the level of the pros, but everybody sets up behind the net. Is that that's the idea? Now, the behind the net player is usually your best offensive defenseman or puck handler, and so I feel the teaching point here is if they just telegraph the way they go without pretending they're going one way and then going the other, that can create time and space to come up and go straight at the first player and dish to open players. So for the listeners, if there are any out there, setting up behind the net, U13, I wouldn't bother setting up. U15, Tom can do it. He's got the offensive skill at U15 to do it. And have you always set up on breakouts on power play? Because you mentioned it's like 5-on-5, but in the pros, was there always a setup start?
Yeah, if they were to back off and to let us do our set, we would, there's obviously a timing element involved. If they would let us run our set and that, and I think I got to be honest, some of the better penalty kills were the ones that put us under pressure and avoided us from getting in that set, because we had some pretty dynamic players that if we get into a drop situation and we have 2 players picking their way through the zone, we would more. But yeah, we would, if the team would back off and they would let us get into our, they'd want to, let us do a set breakout. Then obviously we'd have that D behind the net, and there'd be a timing piece involved.
John, it might have been a year or 2 ago. When you were coaching the American League team, you were in charge of power play, and you mentioned one activity you did in terms of reviewing video with the defenseman. And at the time you mentioned it was probably the most valuable thing for you to do with them. Can you describe that for the listeners?
Yeah, if it's one I think you're talking about, Wally, it was actually with the whole group, and we had the head coach at the time had put us all into separate groups, and by probably I think there was four different groups, and we had a set amount of clips that we ran through, and the job of the coaches was to just basically facilitate the video, but we wanted the players to be able to give their opinions as to what teaching points and what was going on within the clip. And then we reconvened afterwards, and kind of had guys present on it, and just the engagement was off the charts. I think, you know, it was very well received, and I think as a coaching staff at that time, we recognized and realized just the amount of engagement that we needed from the player to make it beneficial. So
Now, I'm going to ask you this question is, did you, like myself, did you learn from the players, or did you know everything they were talking about, or did they bring up anything new that you hadn't thought of?
yeah, no, there was definitely times, and again, like I would obviously, you know, I would chime in at times and try to give them, you know, certain solutions, and things that I saw. But there was definitely more coming the other way from, you know, in certain scenarios and certain situations where they would, you know, they would talk about different things, and again, it was great for me because it was, that part of it was player driven, and again, just, you know, you obviously, you know, and a lot of it would, you know, at the time would come from older players, but I think it just, you know, it just, we had a pretty good culture in the way that, you know, some of the younger guys were encouraged kind of to bring ideas and to have their state their opinion. And so no, but there was definitely a lot of different occasions where the players were bringing certain things, you know, that teams were doing, and yeah, and I thought, you know, I learned just as much from them, if not more, than what I was trying to, you know, things that I was trying to tell them.
Tom, I'm going to pick your brains here. As a player, one of the exercises doing coaching clinics is we ask players, who's your favorite coach and why?
So you're asking me, as a player,
Yeah.
who was my
Yeah.
favorite coach?
When you were a player, let's say at pro hockey, whether it's Europe or North America, do you have a favorite coach in mind?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple guys that stand out, and I think the common denominator with both of them is that they both gave, like I had some say in what was going on, and they were like, you know, the maestro of the orchestra, if you will, and they were guiding us, but we were definitely playing the instrument. And one of the coaches, he was actually a Swedish coach. He would actually give us all a board, and kind of it was like, it was to an extreme. And he would give us a board, and he would be like, okay, what do we do? Like, you guys talk about, you know, breakout, talk about, you know, forecheck, and it was to an extreme, because it was a Swedish guy that had actually played Canada Cups, and was actually one of the, I think he actually was on an all-star team in one of the Canada Cups, to be honest. And it was an extreme, and we had a really young team, and the imports were much older, and so it really worked for us because we had imports that were all 30 years and older, and like, we, you know, that part of it was great. And then the other guy was a guy that I had in the minors, and he'd gone to the final 2 years in a row, and he was really good at being able to give us. I mean, he has, again, like on the power play, there were certain things he wanted us to practice, gave us the leeway to the plays that we wanted to work with in zone, and yeah, those are the two guys that stand out the most, as the guys that I enjoyed having, and we had some pretty good success with both of them off, you know, on the ice and within the group as well. We had a good group of guys, and they just did a good job, and, you know, the environment that we had, and then just the way that they coached as well, as giving us the leeway, or the leeway to be able to have some say into what we were doing.
Tom, are you still on?
Yeah.
Because Tom is he mentioned before you joined, Dom, he's taking his magnetic board along on the bus trip to Kelowna with his U15 players and one-on-one. Can you describe what you're planning on doing here, Tom, with them? Basically, doing something similar to what Dom suggested.
Well, I want to sit with each one just to get to know them, because I knew none of them before, and have the board there, and if they got questions, have them, draw, move the little magnets around to what they might understand or not understand. So just kind of go over things with the board and say, have you got any questions about this, that, or, there's a couple of things that I'd really like my players to start getting between the dots with the puck instead of skating down the boards, stuff like that, and show them on the board. So not the magic, just to get to know them. And
you did the same thing at SAIT. Was it more effective doing it at SAIT with the girls?
I don't know. I haven't done it with these girls. I think just the fact that the fact that you sit down and talk to them and ask them what they think, I think is more important than anything.
Yeah. So Dom, when you did that, you were a player. Did you feel that they were authentically appreciating what the players were saying?
I do. I think, yeah, I just think that they both understood the importance of having the players feel like it was theirs. I think that's, that they both understood that for everyone to have success, there had to be to have a certain level of buy-in. The players need to feel that they have a bit of a say in the overall plan. It's tough. I mean, I can understand. It's in the one situation we had like a younger team, and so there were certain younger players that didn't have the mileage and maybe didn't have the confidence to be able to advocate for what they thought, and so that was a bit of an issue. So I think there should have been maybe, or could have been, a little more guidance with the younger players in that regard. But with the older, I mean, we were, as I say, we were older guys that had probably played, 10 or more years pro. It was definitely well received, from that side of it.
But one thing, Don, that TJ said it when he was playing in the minors, he thought guys were ready to play, so many games. So yeah. I don't know if he suggested or somebody suggested they go around the room before the game and everybody give a thoughts, just 15 seconds of whatever. And he said the first time it was kind of guys.
Say that again, Tom.
Everybody everybody speaks about one thing that they want to accomplish or the team should do, or, this kind of stuff. And every game. And he said the first time they did it, guys were kind of, what is this? And he said the next time you could see that, he said you could see that they'd really thought about what they were going to say. So we started doing it with Willie Desjardins there at UFC. And I think it's really, I do that before every game. I say, okay, say one word that we all have to, that is going to help us be successful today, or what are you going to do, and all this, and go around the room for the same thing as you just said, just to get them engaged.
Yeah.
And get their minds on the game too.
Terminal 2 running. Yeah. No, and I've got to jump off here. We're just going up to the airport. But yeah, no, I think to, we call it, I mean, teachers, I guess they call it cold call. Before games, they would, kind of put guys on the spot as to, what are we going to do in this situation, or what are we doing in this situation? And I know that it snapped some guys out of it, because I think at the pro level, a lot of times we play so many games, and guys, you know, if you're they're just the coaches are just droning on and everything that needs to be done, and this is our you know we're doing off the defensive zone face off. This is what we're doing in the neutral zone. This is what we're doing in the offensive zone, and you're just talking and talking and talking and not getting the feedback coming back the other way. I do know that was something that I've had some coaches that have successfully, and I've started to do it before a game, like you're saying, is just kind of getting input from the players before you're about to go on, just to see their level of preparedness. And again, knowing that that's something you might do helps their general preparation right before the game, because it's like, okay, I've got to be mentally engaged in what we're doing, and you know, not just have my skates tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah, fellas, I gotta jump off. I'm jumping out of the van here. We're at the airport.
Tom,
So,
thanks very much. I'll phone you again next Thursday, and I'll have questions to ask you if you're available. And we've got some precious stuff here to edit with. So have a good
Awesome.
weekend up there.
Have a good
Thank you.
tournament. I gotta
Thank you.
go too. I gotta jump on the rowing machine and do 20 minutes before I go and get in the bus for all day.
You take care, guys.
All right, see ya.
Have a good trip. I'm gonna sign out now.
Okay, see you later.
All right.